Welcome back to the Youngest Real Estate Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about negotiation strategies of the top real estate agents. Johanna, would you consider yourself a top agent?
I was not expecting you to ask me that. Gosh, yes, of course.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Why is that? No, I'm just kidding. So, all right, let's in terms of negotiation strategies and listings, how are you currently selling your listings right now? I mean, they're sitting on the market, days on market are up, sales price, list price is down. So what are you doing to get your sellers top dollar right now?
I'm communicating. So, yes, okay. I'm communicating with the sellers. I'm being brutally honest with them in saying, look, we're going to list where the property is going to sell and it's not going to sit forever. Or it's going to sit forever because we list it where you think it needs to be, not where it actually should be. If that's the case, of course, it depends. Every seller is going to be different. But just be aware of the fact that it's going to sit. And if you're okay with that, then I'm okay with that, right? So long as you and the seller are in agreement and you set the expectation, then the relationship should be fine.
Yep. And then once negotiations come around, it makes it easier.
Right.
There's something I always like to say. 85% of marketing is price, right? And there's no amount of marketing that's going to sell an overpriced listing. And so, before you even start negotiating, you need to make sure that you're right on price. Because I talked to a gentleman who had 4 showings over 107 days.
Yes.
And I was like, hey, buddy, we're pretty far off in price. And unfortunately, you have to have those conversations, though.
Right. The other 15% also matters, right? Yes, price, but you have to put the property's best foot forward. I mean, down to the details. The details do matter in a market where the average days on market are 48 and trending upwards. I want to, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I do want to ask you a follow-up question. So, like these listings right now that are getting two to three showings a week, how are you getting these buyers to bring offers? Because I've talked to numerous homeowners who have expired, canceled, withdrawn off the market, and have been like, hey, I had 2 to 3 showings a week, just no offers. So What are you doing to get those buyers to bring offers? Well, and that's the issue, is that you can never speak to the other party. If you're on the listing side, you can never speak to the buyer directly, and you don't know how well the translation between your conversation to the buyer's agent and then the buyer's agent to the buyer is actually like.
Let me translate that. Some real estate agents suck.
Long story short, some real estate agents aren't great at communicating with their clients. So what can you do? You can communicate as best as possible and as much as possible with all parties involved that you can reach or have access to. So meaning after every showing, I'm calling before the showings, and I'm calling right after the showings. What's your feedback? Are they interested? Where are they at? Okay. And if it's out of my control, meaning, hey, the location didn't work. Hey, the site. Okay, fair enough. But if it's something where they're on the fence or shopping around, I'm in the door.
Yep. One, and you brought up a great point, right? Like I always tell everyone, all my sellers I'm talking to, I'm like, listen, so long as they're not telling me like, hey, I wish it was 2 blocks in, right? I can't pick up a house and move it. But if it's paint, carpet, something like that, those are things that we can fix, that we can change, right?
Exactly.
And it's having those conversations and then helping these buyers agents relay this to their clients so that we can make a deal. I'll tell you something
and you do have to help them.
Exactly.
Emphasis on help.
As much as we wish every single agent on the other side had all the experience in the world and knew how to sell their agents, or know how to sell their buyers a home, most of the time that's not the case, right? Your average real estate agent only sells 8 homes a year. There's a reason behind that, right? And so I'll tell you something that's helped a lot with us is using what we call a reverse offer. That's where, like, as the listing agent, we go back to our clients and we go, hey, we talked to this buyer, they really like the house, but for whatever reason they're not making an offer. And then what we do is that we go back and we write a balanced offer and submit it to the buyer's agent to help procure that next step. And people don't understand that, even from a psychological standpoint, it makes people get very serious about it and realize, like, hey, they're serious about selling their house.
It is. It's all mindset. Unfortunately, I did that exact thing. I wrote the offer for the other agent because they didn't have the time. He literally told me, I just have not had the time to put this on together. I said, okay, I will write it. I'll put the terms together. I sent it over. It probably sat in their inbox for another day. But I as the listing agent, sent the offer over because I want to get the deal done for my clients, no matter what it takes, even if I have to do their work.
It's being proactive rather than reactive, right? Your average agent's going to do what we call the 3 Ps. It's going to be, they're going to post on the MLS, they're going to put a sign in the front yard, and then they're going to pray somebody brings them an offer. Here's the reality in this situation. It's just not going to happen. The competition's up, the inventory's up, and as there's, if there's 4 or 5 homes in a neighborhood that are all sitting there, like, how are you going to make your listing? How are the sellers going to make their home different than everybody else.
You
right?
have to you have to be the prettiest house on the block, and if you're not the prettiest house, then you have to offer the
best price,
yes,
compensate. You have to make it worth their while.
You do.
And I tell everybody this as well. I'm like, listen, the last 2 years, let's be honest, the house was most likely going to sell itself. And this is just not the case anymore. Now we're in a market where, the listing agent and the seller really have to come to terms with, hey, this is the price that we need to be at. We need to look at trends. We need to know exactly what we're going into, right?
And you're using data.
You're using data.
You're not using emotions, right? All right. What's your showing traffic? So I'm coming into every listing appointment with every report that I can pull, showing traffic, comps in the last, and then very recent comps also. And then I'm revisiting my comparables and all the information 24 hours before going on market, because anyone who comes on or has come off is now changed our position as well. And that can happen in a matter of moments, as it usually does.
And active properties can even be comparables. I mean, if they're on the market for 120 days and you've reached out to the agent and they're not moving, then hey, we probably shouldn't be at the same price.
Right.
And I'll tell you, like, obviously we're talking about negotiations today, but that's a huge part to save yourself from just having a hell of a negotiation, right? Like, it's going to prevent you, because if you're priced correctly, guess what? There's not a whole lot of room to negotiate because you're already pretty close to market value.
Right. You already know that you have backup offers.
Yes.
Even though it's not a quote unquote seller's market.
I'll also say this: if you're getting in the block, let's just go and say 3 showings a week. I will, in my experiences, like most neighborhoods, your showings to pendings are going to range somewhere in the ballpark of 12 to 16 showings. So like, hey, if I'm getting like 3 to 4 showings a week, you're gonna eventually, even if that first offer doesn't work out, you're gonna get a second offer,
right? Because
you're getting the showings. Where you're really not in a good position is whenever you're getting like a showing a week, maybe 2 showings a week, because then at that point, we're talking about that's 8 showings over the course of a month. That's at best, right? And at that point, if it's 16 showings to pending, then hey, most likely, like, we're gonna be lucky if we get an offer within the first 60 days, and that's not to even consider, right, that hey, you're only getting a showing or 2 each week, because it's just something in the neighborhood that they're already coming through and seeing, whatever that may be. If you're getting 3 to 4 showings a week, then hey, we're priced correctly, these buyers are interested, and then at that point, it's going to be much easier to make sure, hey, all of a sudden you're not having to talk to your client and be like, hey, we just got an offer $30,000 to $40,000 underneath list, because
you already had that difficult conversation at the listing appointment.
Exactly.
So a lot of the work comes in pricing it, that it takes a lot of work to get to that price that will sell it, that 85%.
Yep.
So what are you doing with the other 15%? How are you standing out? What are you doing as a top agent with that other 15%?
I mean, well, listen, you already took a huge piece of it, right? Expectations are everything. Mm-hmm. That's the number one complaint of everybody. It's not the fact that their house didn't sell or anything else like that, because yes, that sucks, but that's a lagging indicator, right? The leading indicator is that there wasn't an expectation talk, and they didn't know what to expect, and they expected to go get their price on the market. All of a sudden, they had no showings, they didn't get any offers, or they got offers significantly lower than where they thought they would be, and they ended up getting pissed. Here's the thing: these sellers have already cashed those checks inside their brain. Yep. The minute that these houses hit the market, if you're not having proper expectations, if they're listing at 400 and they really need to be at 375, they've already spent that 25 grand.
Yep.
And that's what people don't realize.
Yes.
And so it's how do you prevent that frustration level? Well, you go into the appointment, you have the data to support it, and you show them. You say, hey, this is why we need to be at 375. Like, and I'm a commissioned salesperson. I'd love to go get you more money. You make more money, I make more money. But like, let's also be honest. I don't want you to look back at me in 4 weeks and want to put your foot on my butt. Mm-hmm. I'd like to prevent that. And so expectations is a huge part. From there, it's exposure, right? If you get more eyeballs on the property, that equals more showings, equals more offers, right? And so from that point, it's, hey, what is your network? And your network equals your net worth, right? And so it's pushing it out to all the agents that It's really doing that pre-marketing and not just posting it up on the MLS. Because here's the thing: as much as you'd like to think that, hey, everybody has access to the MLS, and they do, some agents don't always look at it for their clients, right? And so it's a matter of reaching out to them and being like, hey guys, I have a 4.2 coming up in Plano, at 400,000. Who has a buyer? Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised if you have a good network. You're probably going to have an agent who's like, hey, I've got a buyer probably looking for something like that. Now, chances of it selling off market, very, very slim. And obviously with clear cooperation, you got to be careful with that. But, it's just a matter of having those conversations and those high level conversations That's what successful agents do that sell a crap ton of real estate.
Yeah. Yep, that's what gets you from the bottom 80 to the top 20%,
Yep.
honestly. What about, so you mentioned, and I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. The conversations, oh, crap.
The expectation talk with sellers?
No. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry.
Conversations with buyer's agents.
Until I remember.
And this is whenever I wish we had a Jeopardy music.
Well, that's making it even worse. But anyways, is there anything else that you're doing, like any tactics that you're doing for your listings, aside from, pricing and then the marketing, the pre-exposure?
It's just having high-level conversations with buyer's agents. Just like we talked last year, right? And we said you have to be able to talk to these listing agents and fish for information. It's the exact same thing, roles reversed. And so if, for instance, let's say that you showed one of my listings, I'd be like, hey, Joanna, I saw that you showed my listing on 123 Main Street, right? Just wanted to see what your buyer thought about it. And you're going to be like, oh, my God, they loved it so much, Nate. It's the greatest house in sliced bread. And I'm going to be like, okay, great. You're going to be bringing us an offer. And you're going to be like, well, I'm going to say, okay, what do you think is preventing these buyers from making an offer? And that's the high-level conversation.
Yes, because now you have them thinking of something that they wouldn't have otherwise thought to ask their buyers, and they would have just kept showing houses. So here's the thing, and this is what's so frustrating, is that you're having to do the work for them of vetting their own buyers. Like, you shouldn't, as a top agent, you're vetting your buyers properly, because you're not going to waste their time and you're not going to waste your time. However, a lot of these agents aren't even vetting their own buyers. So when they're not asking the right questions, and then you ask them the right question, they can then turn around, ask their buyers, and save everyone a lot of time. Yes. But unfortunately, they're just not doing that.
Here's the unfortunate reality, right? Is that the average agent is just a glorified door opener. Let's be honest. Yep. How many sellers do you talk to who are like, oh man, I really effed up buying this? Unfortunately, it's a lot more than what you'd like to think. And that's because most agents act like glorified door openers. They don't go through and use effective strategies. They don't ask the right questions. And here's the thing. They're afraid to push their buyers. And whenever you're afraid to push your buyer and you let somebody who's not experienced in doing what you do, they're going to make a mistake. Right. It's like if I were to go off and it would be like if I were to try to go off and tell somebody how to program a computer. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no business doing it. Same thing with buying a house. Your average home buyer only buys, I think it's like 3 homes in the course of their lifetime. Name me anything that you can be an expert in if you only do it 3 times.
Yep.
You're not, And so here, yes, you're right. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, as a skilled listing agent, that's what you have to do, because you were hired to sell the house.
Right, and it
to sell the
doesn't
house for
matter
the most amount of money.
Yes, it shouldn't matter who's working on the other side. You shouldn't complain, because if you're going to be a top agent, you're going to do what it takes. Yep. Period. So the resources that you have at hand as a top agent. 1, you post it on the MLS. We can all do that, maybe.
Yeah.
Aside from that, what resources do you have as a top agent to get that home sold, right? Like the actual marketing. Is it, aside from posting it on the MLS, what are you doing that you technically aren't doing, hands-on to get a home marketed? Does that make sense?
No, that makes all the sense in the world. There's so many things you can do, right? There's going to be targeted ad campaigns that you can go off and do to target buyers, and I'm going to tell you that's huge, right? Because like Facebook is a huge one. Facebook is pretty much a search engine nowadays. You've got Google, you've got all those different things that you can go off and push and push and push. Really, any search optimization you really need to be utilizing. And I'm going to be honest with you. If you're not a top agent and you're only selling 3 or 4 listings a year, you probably need to get with the team, because I'm going to tell you that's one of the biggest knocks I have on my competitions. I'm going to say, listen, if somebody's only selling 4 listings each year, chances are they don't have the resources to commit towards truly marketing your home.
Right. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is it that you are so busy doing all the work you're not supposed to be doing, and that's why you are only selling 8 homes a year? Or is it that you are selling so much because you're not doing those things?
That's a completely different conversation.
It isn't.
That
it's
I think
not.
We could talk
it isn't.
about
It's
for
not.
an hour.
Because I say, if you're going to be a top agent and you talk about tactics, what is a tactic for a top agent? You surround yourself by the right people who have the right resources, or you actually leverage out those things. And you're right. It may be a different conversation.
You rip off and duplicate at the end of the day.
Exactly. And I'm just thinking that you can't properly sell a home. You can't have those tactics, because you can't do it all if you're not surrounded by the right people.
That's not even to say that you need to join a team. But with that being said, like if you don't have the resources to properly market a home, it's going to be really, really hard to put it's going to be really hard to compare or to compete with the competition.
So you're either going to have to do it at a really high level and work a lot harder in this market, or pay more money.
Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
So, and like I said, complete like that. We could go on an hour-long tangent each, I think, on that. But I think that's another piece of marketing that once again, if you get more eyes, you get more offers. It makes negotiation a whole hell of a lot easier.
Yep, exactly.
Because I'm going to tell you, if I see somebody that has a house on the market for 120 days, I'm like, this can be fun. Like, this can be super fun.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Yeah.
So, and on the other side of that is, what are you doing as a top buyer's agent?
Ooh, I was waiting for this. I'm going to tell you, I've been enjoying buyers because I'm like, this is fun. It's super fun.
It is.
It's like I feel bad for buyers. For the last 2 years, they had all the power taken away from them. It was like, this is what we want. Give it to us or walk away. So right now, it's really analyzing what their needs are, right? That's the biggest first step in any negotiation. And vetting them properly, right? How long do you plan on staying inside the house? What are you looking for? Because I'm going to tell you, if you tell me, hey, I'm only looking to stay inside this house for 2 years, well, my advice and my negotiation is going to be different than if you're like, hey, this is my retirement home, right? Because if you're only going to be in there for 2 years, well, then, for lack of better term, screw interest rates. Like, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, yes, it does, but it's not. I'm not going to go buy down your interest rate. I'm going to go get you a lower price,
right?
Because that's more important. Whereas if somebody goes, hey, I'm going to be there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, okay, let's go worry about the interest rate, because now we're going to save you more money on that opposed to what you're going to be getting on price.
Yep.
Right? And so I'm going to tell you, expectation on each are going to be the most important.
And again, this comes at the initial buyer consult.
Yes.
This comes in the initial conversation when you set the expectation right.
And you guys are probably like, y'all are talking about negotiations and now you're talking about expectations, but expectations and negotiations go hand in hand.
Yes.
Because you can save yourself a whole hell of a lot of a headache if you just have the tough conversations, and don't be afraid to push them. For instance, I've got a gentleman right now who VA buyer was like, Nate, I'm looking for a deal. That's really what I want. I'm going to be in this house for the next probably 7 to 10 years. And I had to have the conversation with him. I was like, listen, man, I know you want a deal, but you also have to value for the price point that you want to be in and where you're wanting to be at. You're going to have a ton of work to do. And by the time that you do that work, you might as well have went off and bought a house at the same price point that we're already looking at.
You use honesty.
Yes. And if you have those conversations with them and they look at it and they know that you know your stuff because you're having these conversations not based on opinion, but based on facts and experience and things like that, then they're going to be like, crap, you know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And so it's having those discussions, having those conversations. Now, obviously, with that being said, once you do that and you find a house, let's say that and let's work through both of these situations because it's fun, right? Like, let's say you have a buyer who's looking to be inside this house for 2 years. Okay, my next conversation is, what area do you want to be in, right? And if you only want to be there 2 years, we probably need to avoid multiple offers because, let's be honest, let's just say we have a 3% appreciation over in the next 2 years, which I think is probably generous.
We're looking at 30 days plus on market.
Yeah.
Those are the properties that we're looking for.
Exactly. Yeah. We're not going to go look at the properties that have only been on the market for 12 hours and everybody and their mom's clamoring over, right? And at that point, my next goal is going to be saying, hey, even if we have 6% appreciation, which at $300,000, I think if my math is right, that's $18,000, right? By the time that they factor in commissions and things like that, we really need to get them down even further than where quote unquote market value is, right? Because if they go to sell in 2 years, they're not going to make any money, and at that point, why even buy a house, right? And this is where you can't have commission breath because people will totally see through the BS. You have to have honest and thoughtful conversations. And I've told buyers, I'm like, listen, you don't need to be buying a house right now. You need to go rent.
My first question is always, well, why are you going to buy?
Exactly.
Like, why do you need to buy?
And
that I could be shooting myself in the foot, but I'm really not. Because at the end of the day, when I know that I have a serious buyer, I can then turn around and call the listing agent and say, my buyer is serious. We're coming in strong. Yeah. And coming in strong, meaning I'm not going to offer 50 over. Actually, I'm coming in 25 under, but you know that my buyer is serious.
We're going to get to the closing table.
Yes, exactly.
Right now, we've seen so many sellers who go under contract and immediately come back out for a multitude of reasons. Cold feet because of what the market's doing, cold feet because of interest rates.
Because they haven't been vetted properly.
They haven't been vetted properly and they haven't been educated properly.
Exactly.
And once again, this factors in that whole thing of most buyer's agents are glorified door openers. And so those are the conversations that you need to have, right? So going back to they only want to be there 2 to 3 years, right? You need to have those conversations, and then from there, you're still reaching out to the listing agent. If you're writing an offer and you've not spoken to the listing agent or had a substantive conversation outside of, hey, are you working any offers? Like, what are you doing? You know, and I know it's a little rough to say it like that, but come on. You know?
It's not. But that's part of negotiation. Is you get a sense for the other party. How do I need to guide my conversations? And there's a lot of nuisance in all of that because you have to hear for a lot of things that I can't really explain. But it's like a sense of urgency. It's like
let's run them through a conversation. So here's what if I call up a listing agent, like I'd say, hey Johanna, you know, my client's super interested in 123 Main Street. You know, are you working any offers? Most of the time they're like, no, like bring us one. You know, in this market they're gonna be like, bring us one. I'm like, great, no, we'd love to. I mean, you know, tell me a little bit about what the.
I will always respond. I've had traffic. I've had calls. Like,
so I mean, you know, everybody does, and I go, great, awesome, you know. And I go, listen, so like, you know, what ideally are the sellers looking for in terms of like closing dates, lease back, kind of walk me through that. And then I know, all right, if they're looking for a quick close, there's motivation right there. Like they're going to have to sacrifice some cheddar in order to make that quick.
Your dates are more important than the numbers.
Yes. Yep. And so I'm like, okay, I know I can squeeze you. And this is where it gets to be, if you get good at your craft, it gets to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
And so, you know, you start having those conversations and you start factoring that in. And then it's from there I'm saying, okay, great. Now, and then let's say I know my client's going to come in underneath ask. I'd say, listen, Johanna, you know, I know my client, he's going to want to negotiate a little bit. Are you guys flexible on numbers?
Yep.
Almost everybody right now is going to say yes.
Yes.
And if they say yes, my follow-up point is I'd say, okay, great. Can you give me an idea of how much flexibility we may have? And they're not supposed to do this, but almost everybody does it too. And they'll give you a ballpark. And then whatever ballpark they give you, in my experience, they're willing to go down even lower.
Yeah, but they're commission hungry.
So, and at that point, listen, like, generally speaking, they go, oh, like, they're not going to take anything crazy, but like 10 to 15, like, you know, 10,000, 15,000. And I'm like, okay, so really it's like 20 to 25. And I'm like, so that's when I know what I have to play with.
What I love about this market also is that I'm keeping my clients' money in their pocket.
Oh, of course.
I'm rolling in as much closing costs as I can into the loan while coming in under asking price, while getting a home warranty, and that's all part of negotiating for your buyers, because at the end of the day, you are saving them money. Can they keep, you know, another $10,000 in pocket and reinvest it into something that's going to generate them more, you know, like, or whatever it is, or even for a savings fund or whatever it's for. But all of this matters, and it's their details that add up.
All right, so that brings me to my next point of how long do they plan on staying inside the house? This is why this is critical. I just closed a buyer who he is a single guy in his 50s or 60s, and we got him, I ended up getting him like $30,000 underneath list price. They'd only been on the market for like 25 days. Pat myself on the back on this one. I was a badass. But, you know, he was like, he's like, listen, I'm going to be inside this house for a long time. I had him talk to the lender, and we talked about a 3-2-1 buy down. Got him $11,000 back in closing costs while still getting it underneath, what is that, like $19,000 underneath list, which is phenomenal. And, you know, he moved into a house that he really, really liked for a great deal. And he's going to get, for the first year of his loan, I think his interest rate's like a 4.5%. That's pretty freaking good.
That's awesome.
You know?
Yep.
And so that's why having those conversations are absolutely critical.
Right. When people think negotiating, they think it's about going back and forth, and it's about all of the savings that you get or make more for your sellers or save your buyers at the end of the day, that unfortunately, a lot of your clients aren't going to understand how much you actually save them because they didn't work with someone that didn't save them as much money.
And
Does that make sense?
They're not supposed to know, you know?
They're not supposed. Yes, but unfortunately, you know, there's not a crystal ball to show us the two different outcomes.
No, of course. So, and so I do want to run you through these next things, and I want to kind of pick your brain on these. Let's say you have a client who's like, I'm just dead set on this number, but you know they're getting a sweet deal. And you're like, dude, don't be a ding-dong. Come on. How do you approach that situation? Negotiation standpoint.
Give me numbers.
So let's say that the house is worth $400,000. Like, you're confident that the house is worth $400,000. You're able to get the house for them at like $375, $380. So they're walking in with like $20,000 worth of equity. They're planning on staying inside the house for the next 5 years, let's say, in a great location. How are you approaching that conversation where they're like, hey, if they won't come down to $375, I'm going to walk? right?
I use numbers. I use numbers 100%. I'll pull comps. I will use all the numbers I need to show them. Look, 6 months ago you had paid $50,000 over this. You're gonna let it go, and then you're gonna come back 6 months from now when the spring market is super competitive, and you're gonna pay $10,000 more and shoot yourself in the foot. I just use honesty and data. Like
all because you get a lower interest rate. Let me tell you guys, you can
and
refinance.
You run them through the numbers, and that also works. Like you just walk them through the data, walk them through what you can show, which is 6 months ago their number is the lender, and also use your vendors, use your lenders to help you in that. I always say, look, I don't need to sell you on anything. I'm okay. I honestly only want the best for you.
I told somebody that earlier today. I said, listen, so I'm going to tell you exactly what I told you whenever we first met. I'm not always going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear.
I'm going to be brutally honest.
Yeah, and I told him, I said, listen, like, at the end of the day, we can keep on looking if you want. I said, but I'm willing to guarantee you're going to look back and you're going to kick yourself for this one. Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing, for the price point that you want to be in, this is by far the nicest thing we've seen. We've seen quite a few homes. Like this is something that we should jump on.
That also comes through your confidence. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, when you're telling the truth, when you believe what you say, people
can hear it.
Exactly.
People can hear the conviction.
Exactly.
And so it's a matter of showing the numbers, or even like an appreciation chart, or being like, yes, I understand why you can be nervous about the next year, 2 years, right? Yeah. And that's great. That's not why you buy real estate. It's not for the next year or two. If you're expecting, like, we went through a 2-year phase where, here's the reality: nobody's ever going to make $100,000 on their home over a course of a year ever again. Yep. It's not going to happen. And so if that's your expectation, like, you don't need to be buying to begin with. But like, if you're going to be in here for the long haul, yes, you're in the long run. In 5 years, 10 years, your house is going to be worth $50,000 more, $75,000 more. And that's a fair assumption.
Yeah. So
and it's just having those deeper level conversations where you say, you're not buying for right now. You're buying for, hey, does this house fit my needs? Can I see myself living here? Is there, if I did want to change anything, what would I want to change? Is it carpet, flooring? Those are all things that we can change. Right?
And I always go back to, listen to the experts, listen to the people who are where you would like to be in that regard, right? Financially, I think we would all like to be like Warren Buffett. And what does that man do or advise for? When you buy something, you plan on holding it forever. That's how I see it. If you're going to buy something, hold it forever. And that's it.
Okay, so now I want to walk you through scenario number 2. Let's say you have a listing agent who's just like, my clients aren't coming down another $5,000. But, you're like, you know what? I think you're lying. I think I can get you. How do you approach that situation?
You send it in. I mean, I sent it in. I said, look, I know you said that, but also my clients, again, I'm coming from a space where my clients are serious and they're going to close. So here's our offer. Again, you have to present it. Yep. Legally, you have to present it. And then come back and tell me your clients told you no.
So and I'll tell you how kind of approach it. If they're being, like, if my client really, really likes the house, and I know that the $5,000 is not the difference.
And that's where you have to be careful because you can't show all your cards, right?
Well, and so that's where you get strategic, though. Like, I'll tell you, if my client loves the house and they're like, Nate, $5,000 isn't make or break. I'm like, all right, let's execute. You mean the option period? I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you in the option period. Like, that's where I like to squeeze people. Because here's the reality. As a buyer in Texas,
I hate hearing it, but it is so true because so many people are like, oh, they're gonna use the option. I'm like, no, you're not supposed to, but yes, I am.
100%. Here's the thing.
Yep.
A seller can't terminate within the option period. So yes, I'm gonna squeeze you. I'm gonna totally squeeze you, and I'm gonna push you all the way up until 5 p.m. on our last day. And you're gonna be. I had this. Another funny story. I had a listing agent who hated me during the option period. Was like, I was like, you've squeezed our clients so much. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm representing the buyer. Like, that sucks.
I'm in it for them. Yeah, I'm not in it for you.
And then at the closing table, the escrow officer was like, the listing agent had nothing but great things to say about you. And I was like, I'm surprised because she did not like me during the option period.
Well, you appreciate when the other party's, when the ot's strong and they're coming back at you with your tactics, it's like, oh man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where the strategy comes to play, right? It's like you have to know the contract. If you don't know the contract, it makes it so much more hard. And then you also have to know, like, hey, are we worried about somebody else scooping up this home? Because if I'm worried about somebody else scooping up the home, I'm not gonna be dumb.
You have to know where you stand.
Yes.
You have to be very firm on where you stand, and you have to be really sure of what what you're doing.
You also don't want to be that guy who's like, I can get you that extra 5, and then somebody ends up swooping in, and you're like, oof, that's embarrassing.
And we lost it over 5, which at the end of the day really is
nothing.
Yep.
And that's the other thing. I tell my sellers and my buyers, and this is so important for literally anybody in real estate. $5,000 to $10,000 in a real estate transaction is literally nothing. Like, and I know that it sounds so crazy to say out loud, but and
No,
let
it's
me rephrase.
emotional. No,
Yes.
those are emotional numbers.
Whenever it comes to price off the home, literally is we're talking about, I mean, pennies and nickels, unless they're just literally no margins in terms of like equity, right?
And that's when you have to go back to your buyer or your seller, whoever, and say, hey, look, right now, in the grand scheme of things, these numbers, they're nothing.
Yep.
Right now, what we're dealing with is with your emotions. So let's pinpoint where those emotions are coming from and what do we have to do to get to the closing, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what you want.
Yes, and I do want to rephrase my statement because I can understand how it can be a little confusing. I tell my sellers this more often than my buyers. If you're only reducing price by $5,000, that's people are not making an offer on your house over $5,000.
No.
They're not. Generally speaking, it's not even 10 grand. And so whenever I go for a price reduction, if I have to do that, I'm like, listen, we need to be smart. We need to look at the numbers and we need to be aggressive, dependent upon how far off we are in showings.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you, I think $5,000 price reductions are not effective.
No, so I've had one of my mentors advise that you do a 2-5-10 strategy, right?
Yep.
2% if you're getting traffic, but you're not getting what you want. 5% if your traffic is slow, but it's still there. 10% if you're not getting any traffic.
Yep.
And I find that those numbers, they work out really well.
Exactly. So, that's really, guys, everything that we just shared with you, I think is what helped you and I. You think you sold 50 houses last year?
I had 45 last year.
Rookie numbers.
I
I only
know.
plus 39. You're good.
I know.
So, all right, we were pretty darn close to 100 units sold combined. You can judge my math later, but it's what we're telling you works, and I'll tell you, like, so far this year, I think I've got 5 or 6 up on the board, and I've got 2 more buyers I'm working with right now.
Okay.
I know
nice.
we're both working with a bunch of listings. Like,
Yep.
what we're telling you works, and I tell you those numbers because some people are like, oh, like, what do you guys know? Like, or don't want to listen. They want to go recreate everything.
Don't.
Rip off and duplicate is the key to success.
Yep. And that's what I said. All I can speak to, because I know I'm young and I don't come from a background from a family of real estate. But look, I've sold a lot of real estate, and I'm living proof that real estate can change your life. So I have something to say.
Yep. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you guys next week, and have a great day.